Hello and welcome. This is K9, and I'll let you know up front that when I recorded this that my microphone wasn't working, so I had to fire up my video editing suite, and actually I'm recording the voice portion of this after the fact. This is the Meganzanno Facility, and that is the actual target, is to take out that communications dish. And that big gun that you see up on the hill is how we're going to mask the sound of our shots. And these are the targets that we're kind of after. Only those two are not manned. As you can see, that sound masking up in the center, dead center of the top of the screen. That's the gun.
Looks like they're firing those big guns. Better do something about them, or we could have a big problem.
You don't want to do anything with that gun yet. You want to use it while you clear out the near end of this base to mask your shots so that they don't know where you're firing from. So we're going to use that gun, and then we'll go after the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue working on this side of the road using the gun to mask the sound of my shots as I take down these targets. And those are the vehicles that we're after. Only those two don't have, those aren't manned, they're not active. We'll blow them up, but we're actually looking to take down the ones that could shoot back at us. So I'm going to basically mark a bunch of targets and eliminate a lot of the threats that are on this side of the road, on this side of this end of the base, using that big gun to mask the sound of my shots so that they can't really find me. And I've gotten pretty good at this to where they just can't find me anymore. And it's pretty easy getting through this end of the base and kind of fun. So that's what I'm working on for this particular facility. And I'm going to start taking these targets down, and I'll be back in a few minutes to show you a tank. Here is a tank that's coming down the road, and I hear him before I see him, so I'm looking for him. And I'm not going to get to him fast enough, and what I'm going to try and do is actually get his gas tank. That's on the rear end of the tank, and what that does is it slows down the tank, makes it easier for you to get a shot on the driver, which actually will stop the tank. It makes it easier to deal with. If however the tank is coming straight at you and it's not on a bumpy road, so that window that actually has the driver's head bobbing up and down in it is fairly stable, you can get a shot through that window without taking out the gas tanks, but taking out the gas tanks does make it easier. So from the safety of a bush that's now a little farther, it's on the other side of the road at the foot of that large gun. Timing my shots with the firing of the large gun is just keeping me hard to find. They don't know where I'm at, so I'm just going to keep clearing this for you, and then we'll update this as we go forward. And what we got here is just some of the targets that present themselves around this end of the base. So I'm going to keep clearing out this area, making it safe for me to move around and do things. And then we'll look for some more hard targets. This is one of the guys that are sitting at the base of the guns that are on the front end of the base, overlooking the bay. And what you're listening for is that setup of the gun, that really low-pitched rumble. Then the gun will fire, and I stayed on target long enough to actually get a second shot off. I didn't hit him with the first shot. Shame on me. I should be better at this by now, right? So the next thing you'll hear is the round from that large gun land, and then you'll hear the setup for the next shot, that low-pitched clicking and putting the guns in place, and then you'll hear the big gun go off. And you want to time your shot with that. There it is. Okay, that tank we shot the gas tank for is moving slow, and it's now coming down this hill. This is the big circular path it takes on this near side of this base, but it's now moving a lot slower because I shot it in the gas tank, and it's going to give us that window right there. As you're looking through your binoculars, that window lights up. That is the space which you can shoot through for the driver. And then next to the turret, there's another window, which is that one to the right of the turret, that when the tank is alerted because it's being attacked, the gunner opens up that window, and you put another round through that window, and you take out the gunner. But there's a third person in a tank, and they run the small machine gun. Might be the commander, might be the guy who actually loads rounds into the tank, might be the lowest ranking guy in the whole thing. But you can't just run up to that tank unless you do it very, very quickly, because there is another guy in the tank running a machine gun. And the last thing you have to do is throw a satchel charge on the back of the tank and actually blow the tank up, and then the tank is actually taken care of. I've seen it done with TNT also, which later on in the video I take out one of the half tracks with TNT because it won't let me use a satchel charge, which is one of the frustrating things about the game is, one, you can only put a satchel charge in certain areas, and two, only when they deem it appropriate, and sometimes the software is not cooperating, and you'll see at the tail end of this video that there's a tank that I can't get a satchel charge on, or actually a half track I can't get a satchel charge on, so I have to use TNT. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run up this road. I'm going to rush this tank, and this is a pretty long distance to do that. I'm taking my life in my hands for you here. I hope you appreciate it. So I'm going to rush this tank, get behind him before the last guy in the tank gets me in his sights with the machine gun, and throw that satchel charge on this thing. There we go, I think. Remembering, I'm actually adding the video commentary or the audio commentary on this after the fact. My microphone somehow was not working while I actually shot this thing. When I went through the videos, no voice commentary, so working a little harder on this one than I was. So the right click or hitting R when you get the lit up satchel charge in the back of the tank places it, and then another R hit lights the fuse. You can also shoot it, which I demonstrate a couple of different times. You can shoot it and make it go off. But hey, let's load up another segment and another target. Okay, for this little segment, this is a gun emplacement, and it doesn't happen to be one of our side mission objectives, but you can blow it up, and I usually do. I'm not sure if it's actually worth points if you're still trying to earn points. I know I had the maximum 1,000,000 points by the third time I went through the missions. And, like I've said in other videos, I just think the game is a little thin. It's good. It does a lot of things very right. It's fun. But you do end up getting through things very, very quickly. So you can step back, place the satchel charge, step back, pull up one of your weapons, and actually blow that thing up by putting it in your sights, which allows you to blow it up at a distance and at a time of your choosing. You just have to have a vector back to the satchel charge so you can target it. A little safer for you rather than lighting a fuse and making sure that you have a clear vector of egress so that you can get out of there and not blow yourself up. So we're looking for the next target, and I'm probably, as I mentioned before, I recorded this and was speaking while I was doing it, and I went back and reviewed the segments that I had shot, documenting all this, and the microphone wasn't working, and there was just nothing from me, just the pictures and the sound from game, and no microphone, and wow. So now I loaded this into my video editor, and I'm narrating it after the fact, trying to remember everything I did. So I was probably saying something really interesting and very intelligent at this point. And I just don't remember what it is, which is why I'm not currently moving. So I was making a point at some point, but I think right after this, I took down the two boats that go through the harbor, the MASs, the Mosses. if you actually pronounce it that way. And I'm not sure if I actually included that or not. Maybe I'll go back and edit it back in. And what we're going to do here is take down a pantherturm, which is a turret that is on top of a hardened bunker. And you can actually see that the gunner's port is open, although I think I tried to target it from this open door after clearing the area of troops and threats. And I don't think I can get a clear shot at the gunner's port from this window. So I moved to the next door over, and at that point it became actually really easy to step back into the room and have the cover of the room. See, that port's not available. And you can't actually get a shot at that port. So I go back into the room, get the other door to my left. Apparently I didn't believe that you couldn't get a shot on this, so I'm trying it again because I'm a little hard-headed that way. So I'm not satisfied that I can't get a shot at this. There's one. And that was from the left-hand door. Back in the room, undercover. Should get a lot of sound masking, and if you're noticing my mini-map, I've got some threats incoming. So moving quickly, you can place that satchel charge, which they don't always give you access to. I don't know if you caught it, but I was actually reloading my rifle, which is the same R key, rather than setting that satchel charge under duress and under a time constraint. And there's your pantherturm. Shoot the gunner, place the satchel charge, blow the thing up. And I've still got threats incoming, but I think I went to the next section. This is an area where there is a hardened bunker, a pillbox, if I remember correctly. There is a pillbox up here. Or no, this is a minefield. That's before the pillbox. I wanted to show you, since I was taking an alternate route here, that you can find the binoculars do allow you to find the mines and the traps that you can then highlight or target with your binoculars so that you mark them and you can see them on the map. Do the same thing when you set a trap. After I set a trap, and those traps on the map appear blue, you look at them in the binoculars. Even though you set it, it's red. You click on it with the binocular and it actually puts an icon on your map so that you know where you set your traps on the map. But as you're going through this minefield, you look through the binoculars and there's a couple more traps up there, a couple more mines, and you can go up to them, hit your R key, and collect those mines, collect what belonged to the Nazis, and then use it against them. It becomes part of your inventory for as many as you can carry, which at this point there's only 3 that I can carry. And there's a point at which you can upgrade how many things that you can carry, but instead of doing that, I chose more ammo. I figured with all the guys I was wasting, there's going to be more bodies on the ground where I could find more mines rather than finding more ammo, which is more important. You run out of ammo in this game and you're hurting. And I did that once. I actually turned to, and what I'm doing with the binoculars now is I'm making sure I didn't miss any traps. I'm going to trot over and blow myself up when I'm trying to be impressive for you. So up here on this hill, there's that pillbox. And it is well placed to take down anything that's in this area. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this hallway. This particular hallway is opposite the pillbox. It's to the right of where that bunker was or actually the minefield was, where we looked at the pillbox in the first place. This hallway is a murder hole for that pillbox. You don't want to actually approach this area from this hallway. If he catches you, he can fire straight down into this hallway, and only the left wall will save you. And if you actually have guys chasing you down this hallway, and that thing firing at you, it's pretty hard to survive it. So you might want to maybe plant a mine or 2 in this doorway, fire a couple of shots, go down to the bottom of the steps, plant another mine. I've done that. and attract some attention, get them to chase me down here, and then completely vacate it and do an end around and flank them to the left through the pillbox to get up to the. And this is that. This is the end of the minefield, and just what I was telling you is flanking it to the left so that you can get up this wall, and that pillbox is right dead center at the top of the screen under the light. And I'm going to put this box in between me and it, so one, it doesn't see me sooner than later, and then run as fast as I can. I shouldn't be crouching, that's the truth. Up here, and notice my mini-map, there are a couple threats in and around this area. One happens to be the sniper that's up on the roof, and at this point I don't remember that. I'm looking for him inside, and he's actually on the roof over my head. But I'm making sure he doesn't come out that doorway and cause me problems. So, back out. And anything gold in game, like that pipe in front of you, you can climb up. I'd rather see them not mark it and make more pipes in game and rain downspouts climbable. I'd rather not. So what we're going to do is we're going to rush past the opening, taking our life in our hands, to get to where the only place is where you can put that satchel charge. They won't let you put it anywhere else. You know, the near side of that pillbox is just as soft as the far side, but they only allow you to put it on the far side. I think that's just cheap game design. It's just a game, but still, I mean, if it's just as easy to put one on the other side or allow you to put it within a certain distance, just design it that way. Jeez. So, we just blew up the main target for this mission. That is our main mission objective, which was the transmission dish. And now there are more hardened targets around. There's 2 more tanks and a half-track. And what I just did was I took out the gas tank for the tank. And now I'm looking for the driver's port. And I've got the back end of the tank and it's on the front end of the tank. So I'm looking for the driver's port to stop the tank. And here it comes, around to the front. Had a very small window to try and get to that before he got behind cover. Didn't make that shot. And before I cut to this particular scene, I took down all the other troops that were in this area. There's the half-track. You can sometimes get a shot in that little hole right below the gun, and that port is very often not open, which is frustrating. But that hole, once it's the hole below the gun, once that half-track is active and looking for you, that hole is usually open, which more often than not becomes how I take out that gunner. So we're going to wait for this tank to come around to the front. We're going to take out the driver so he stops. There we go, good shot. Driver's head always seems to be lined up with that window. Now we're going to look for the gun port. Missed. Try it again. Good shot. Gunner's head always seems to be lined up too. Except for the last tank that we're going to take out in this particular episode, where he comes straight down that hill behind the half-track, and all of a sudden the windows don't line up and pose us some problems. So we'll see how we get through that one. Our next target is that half-track with the 20mm cannon on it. If you've ever got hit by one of those rounds, they take some chunks out of your butt. You don't want to give them some free shots at you. But I think I actually put this shot below the gun through the little access port of the cannon. I don't think the gunner's sight window is open on this. Here we go. We got it. There it is. And that was through the little hole in the gun port below the gun itself, not through where the gunner actually sights, which is a window like the tank has. I find very often that little window is actually closed. Now I'm looking for the other tank, the other target. And it poses some problems. And remember that even though you took out the guys inside these vehicles are not done yet. They are not done yet. Especially the tanks. The tanks have somebody else in them running the machine gun. And if you are in their line of sight, that last guy, that third guy inside the tank, will fire up that machine gun, and he'll unload on you. And you'll see as I get closer to this area that the area that's covered by those tanks and that half track is really kind of difficult to get into. They've got me in kind of a crossfire, and I have to figure out where I can actually attack this from so that I don't get myself shot up. Like I said, I took out the troops, the threats to me, outside of these armored vehicles before I started working on the armored vehicles. But yeah, once you blow up that main target, once you blow up that communications dish, they cut loose with some more troops and some more security. And this is what frustrated me. Is I go around to the front of this vehicle, and there should be a place to put that satchel charge. So I go around the back just to check that it's not there. And guess what? It's not there. And I've got two tanks trying to zero me in. And I'm over here trying to take out this half-track. And there's nowhere to put a satchel charge. Completely frustrating. I got to put myself in the line of fire to try and figure out what some game designer was too lazy to figure out himself. Very, very frustrating. And this is the gun port. This is the driver's port on that tank, which is coming straight down the hill. And you get a better shot at it a little bit later. And that driver's port is not lined up with his head. The angle of the tank is just at an extreme angle, and I can't get a shot. There it is. Very, very narrow window. Okay, got the driver, and now I'm stuck with that tank that's headed straight down the hill. And looking for a gun port. I can't find one. And I have to change my angle of attack to see if I can find one. At least a tank driver done, and you can hear him firing the machine gun at me. Can't place a satchel charge, but I've got other tools. Go in there and dial up my TNT. I've got 3 of those. And I'm just going to toss them next to this half track along the length of it. Toss a couple of those TNT blocks next to the half track along its length, because when you put them this close together, you fire one and the other 2 are going to go up. So that should be enough explosive power to actually get that thing to explode. And I'm going to take out that threat to me, just so that they don't do it with the machine guns and cause me more problems than I need. So I'm going to dial up, I think, my rifle and get one of those TNT blocks in my sights. And the half track is destroyed. So even though they didn't give me the opportunity to set up a satchel charge like they should have, managed to do that with some other tools, the TNT blocks. Now I'll start working on the tanks. And the tanks, I still got a gunner in this tank that's on the hill right there. The gunner's still alive, the driver's dead. So I got to take out the gunner and then put a satchel charge on it to take out the machine gun that's in it. And that tank, which is straight down the road in front of me, you can see the lights on the pavement right there. That tank still has a machine gunner alive. So I don't want to get too close to him, and I don't want him to start sighting me in, or he's going to catch me in a crossfire the way these 2 tanks are. Well, Q, you shouldn't have, stopped them to where they actually have a crossfire situation and have a tactical advantage over you. What the heck were you thinking? I know. I was thinking I wanted to do this as quickly as possible and, get you back into the game where you're having a good time. Another barrel. that I'm going to try and get rid of. And get rid of it so that, you know, they can't blow it up on me. And I was probably a little too close to do that, but that's okay. I survived. So I'm going to try and line up this gunner for the tank from this angle. And it won't let me do it yet. So I got to find maybe another angle. I'll take a shot anyway. No mas. No good there, Maestro. And I didn't do the barrel yet. So let me blow up that barrel. Yeah, I'm probably too close to have done that. But that's okay, I lived. And then get to another angle and see if I can get that gunner lined up with my rifle. Gonna let me do it this time? No? And there's a machine gunner. It's just the tank is facing down at such an angle that he can't get his weapon up high enough to get a clean shot at me, so I'm alright. Wasn't a totally bad thing to stick the tank on that incline by shooting the driver, but let's see if we can actually get this thing done another way. I think at this point I rushed the other tank by going through this building, which I've done before, which gets me around the backside undercover, which you can take a number of ways. Some of you probably did. So, place a satchel charge, and I think I'm going to fire this with a round rather than a fuse. If memory serves. Get back to where I'm undercover and safe. Machine gun couldn't find me quick enough. And then pull up my rifle, sight that satchel charge, and detonate. There we go. And that is probably the slide that's on the front of this video. That was a pretty good explosion. Another one. I've got an NVIDIA, I think it's a 700 series video card, and the software that actually comes with that is pretty good. You've got a service on that, and I shut it down to actually load this software. So called Shadow Play, that allows you to not only record what you're doing in game. And don't freak out, I cleared this minefield earlier. I don't know if I told you that or not, but I cleared this minefield too so I could go through. I hadn't been up here before this trip, and there were a couple mines down there. So I'm going to try and get up here behind this tank, and the frustration issues in this game continue because there's razor wire there and can't get it. Well, no, you can't go there. That would give you too much of a tactical advantage. We can't have that. And there's enough room here to walk behind the tank, but guess what? No mas. Sorry. You can't go there. Shall I explain to you how frustrating that is? You know, in 2017, when everybody else is putting out a sandbox game that actually works. So, this is about where I started to rant, which is a good thing my mic was off, that I couldn't get behind this tank to place a satchel charge, which was 3 feet from me, which is the only place you're allowed to place a satchel charge on this particular tank to get it to blow up. And instead I've got to walk in front of the machine gun and take my life in my hands to try and demonstrate this, and it was just it's just disappointing. They could have made this game so good. So good. And just little ticky things like this throughout the entire game. The razor wire, the rocks you can't climb, the fact that you only have one place to put a satchel charge and you couldn't put any more, and the fact that satchel charges, which are pretty heavy and large, you've got an unlimited supply of. Really? We couldn't design any better than that. So I'm not going to belabor this point, but I'm going to run around the front end of this tank and take this tank out. But this is where I'll end the video, and I will bid you farewell and thank you for joining me, and hope you got something you could use out of these. So K9 out. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in another video segment.